Welcome to Inviting Oneness, a podcast where we explore true personal stories from friends and members of EquaSion. Stories where the illusion of separateness gave way to the deeper truth of our shared humanity. Oneness isn't an idea, it's an experience. And today, we continue listening for it, one story at a time. Our guest today is Ethan Weinstein, a local high school poet and writer. At EquaSion, we recently launched a new small group initiative called Faith and Friendship Groups. Throughout the summer, interfaith groups will gather around a range of themes and practices, including having difficult conversations, prayer, belong dinners, faith communities in solidarity with immigrants, and sacred connections, our Religious 101 group that visits different places of worship across the Greater Cincinnati region. Each gathering begins with a poem and a connecting question. The poem you'll hear today was written by Ethan, and it helped to launch these faith and friendship groups last week. After sharing the poem, Ethan responds to this connecting question. What was the moment you first became aware of your own spiritual or religious identity? As you listen, we invite you to reflect on that question for yourself. Here's Ethan sharing his poem.
A pious call, a meeting with death. Life changes with the smallest acts. The warmth felt in every blade of grass, the timbre of people's breath. The beat and energy in your heart, pumping along with every thought. Yet we are told and taught that the who and where are what we forgot. From church pews listening to preach and tale, sitting amidst the forest's grass of tree palm may psalm, laying down and staring at the starlight of a peaceful night, or just being within the comfort of a familiar calm. Unresting weary eyes on worn-down pillowy clouds. Because to know God as a name, an entity, something to believe, can be as hard as finding that spot in time, space, and faith. Each door locked shut, each script in foreign tongue, each new generation slightly evolved, yet each person holds the key. One just needs to find the right rung and the right direction to be sung.
So, Ethan, thanks so much for writing this poem for us, for agreeing to be a part of the faith and friendship groups and setting the space for the people who are a part of these small groups. The way we're going to do this in the context of the small groups is we're going to share your poem, and then we're going to ask people, everybody in the small groups, to reflect on what we call a connecting question, an opening question that everybody will respond to. And so I'd like to invite you to respond to the connecting question as well. Here it is. What was the moment you realized your own spiritual or religious identity? What was the moment you realized your own spiritual or religious identity?
It's kind of changed a couple of times. It's not really I believe in God. That is how I stand. It's more of, I can agree with this, or I can agree with that. Like, it's more of a kind of like improv, how it's yes and.
Hmm.
Because when I was growing up, I really liked Greek mythology, but I didn't really feel like it's the religion. I made that feel like it was storytelling. And so when I'm going into religious spaces, I'm kind of somewhat interpreting it as that. It's more of how we can explain and give these stories more importance to our lives. And because I write so much, I'm also coming up with my own interpretations, my own versions within the same story, because that is how people collect their ideas and thoughts over a community.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So what I hear you saying is that the way in which you're constructing your identity is shifting and changing and maybe improvisational in nature in terms of your relationship with your own
Yes.
your own spiritual religious identity. Yeah, I really love that. I think there is a moment for me when I would say I remember very specifically kind of identifying myself as like a Christian, capital C Christian. But then, in the same way as you, there was a series of moments after that that I started to understand and unpack how the identity was shifting and how it meant something different or was evolving in some way. Is there a moment most recently in your life where you've come to some realization about the way you understand your own spiritual or religious identity?
Honestly, today,
Today. Well, that's great.
yeah,
That's current. Yeah. What
I
happened
was
today?
I'm currently writing a story that really plays into like religious justification in terms of like, this is how the thing will go because this is how it's written in the stone. And
Uh-huh.
it's like, it's because I'm taking like aspects of Greek gods
Yeah.
and religion. Just throughout school, we've been really diving into older stories, which are going to be more religious, simply because that's how the times were. Like Shakespeare, specifically Macbeth, had that really like gaudy, prolific feeling to it.
Hmm.
And so today, as I was making this story, I'm pulling aspects from these and I'm realizing I don't know if I really believe in a God that made everything, but I believe we are turning beautiful things like the sun, daylight, the forest, and like all these animals into a God so that we can really show respect to it.
Well, I think there's also something very congruent with the Jewish and Christian understanding of B'Tselem Elohim, to be created in the image of God. And what some people understand that to mean is that just as the Creator created us in the image of the divine, so too we are invited to create beautiful things, like you say, like your poem, like your story that you're working on. So I think there's something there that's super resonant for me as well.
Another thing that really inspired this poem, because I'm taking aspects from different, like I haven't gone to a Catholic church, but I know that you would be listening to like pastors, you'd be singing along. Maybe not necessarily how we do it in the synagogue, but you want to really focus on everything that's being said so that you can come back with your questions. And I'm
Yeah.
using a lot of older religious-y words, like pious very specifically. It's not a word
Yeah.
you really hear nowadays.
Yeah, I love how you evoked multiple reference points to different faith traditions within your poem. And I really appreciate the time that you spent to write this incredible poem and to help set up the space for these small groups. I know it's gonna mean a lot and resonate with people. So thanks so much for agreeing to do this.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us on Inviting Oneness, where we share real stories of connection that dissolve the illusion of separation and reveal our common humanity. To learn more about the festival, our work at EquaSion, or to share your own story of oneness, visit us at EquaSion.org. Until next time, may we keep inviting oneness within ourselves and with one another.